Hello, sixth graders. So, as we move on with social studies and review a lot of the information we started yesterday about timelines, let's make sure you have that do now correct. Make sure that these are the answers that you have in front of you. So, the first should be before Christ, then before Common Era, then Anno Domini, that fancy word, and then Common Era. So, remember, these two things, BC and BCE, mean the same exact thing. All the things that happen before the year one. And then AD and CE mean the same exact things. All the things that happen after the year one. So when we talk about the date today, how it's 2015, that's 2015 AD or CE, because we're talking after the year one. So our objectives today are I can explain what BC, BCE, CE, and AD mean, and I can label events on a timeline. So, first, how do you write this? 3 years before Christ was born. Well, let's go look back up at our notes from our do now here. If we're talking before Christ, that's what we say is BC. So 3 years before Christ was born is 3 BC. Now go ahead, pause this video, and complete the next 3. Start the video once you're done. Welcome back. We are now going to go over your answers. 3 years before the Common Era, should say 3 BCE. These mean the same exact thing. It's just a different way of saying it. The reason why some people say BC or before Christ, and some people say BCE, before Common Era, is because some people don't identify as Christian. They don't believe in Christ. So they like to use a different terminology, but they mean the same thing. So these two things are the same year. The 2011th year of the Common Era. So again, Common Era is CE. So we call that 2011 CE. And the 1776th year of the Common Era, CE. So this is the same year as 2011 AD, but this is what people say who are not Christian, because AD says Anno Domini, which means Christ in Latin. A different language, but same idea. It talks about Christianity. So now if you understand what BC, BCE, CE, and AD mean, let's talk about creating a timeline. When creating a timeline, you must follow 3 steps. The first step is to label the year 1. So whenever you are asked to build a timeline, you will always label the year 1. So go ahead right now on this timeline, write 1, right about here, right in the middle of your timeline. And then you will always label step 2, each side of the timeline with BC or BCE and AD or CE. So go ahead and label somewhere over here. This is the BC/BCE side. And then you can go ahead and guess where you should be putting AD/CE side. And then step 3 is to write the years on the appropriate sides in order. So right now, I want you to put on your timeline the year 2 AD and the year 2 BC. Pause the video and then check back in a second. Okay, welcome back. So what you should have now, this is where your 2 AD goes, and this is your 2 BC. Because all this side is the stuff that happened before Christ, before the year 1. And this stuff is what happened after. Now let's go through and continue working on how to build a timeline. So to work independently, follow the 3 steps we just learned. Make sure you do, especially these first 2 at all times, and label the timelines below. So label these 2 dates right here, and I'll read them out loud to you if you'd like. Pause the video while you do them. Number 1, 4000 BCE and today's date, 2015. Yeah, make sure you follow steps 1 and 2, and then you do step 3 by adding these. Number 2, 5000 AD and 1000 BC. Number 3, and I know I'm moving fast, just pause the video as you do each one. 1500 AD and 2011 CE. Number 4, 900 BCE and 600 BCE. If you are done with that, try this challenge practice. Label the events below on the timeline in order. Be sure to follow the 3 steps of building a timeline. So right now, you should make sure you're adding step 1, then you do step 2, and then try and add all of these things. Pause the video until you are done. And if you are finished early, make a timeline below of major events in your life. They will all be AD because all these things happen after the year 1 in your life, but still be sure to put them in order. And still, whenever you build a timeline, you follow those first 2 steps. So you'll notice that all the ones when you build a timeline of your life, all the events are going to be over to the right side. If you're done with that, then just take out your independent reading book and wait for further instructions.